Thank you so much to Gilbert and George. I've got the great pleasure now to introduce Rirkrit Tiravanija, who currently divides his time between New York, Chiang Mai, and Berlin. Besides an infinite list of exhibitions, and again, if I would read them, we would have a list marathon, all his shows, but it also includes his co-founding of The Land in 1998, actually a land project near Chiang Mai that brings together art, architecture, and agriculture. Ever since I've met Rirkrit in 1990, 1991, we've always talked about maps in all kinds of forms, also his many maps as puzzles, and also, as Rirkrit always says, passports are totally relevant in relation to maps. Passports are maps. But then the paradox is, Rirkrit also hates maps. A very, very warm welcome to Rirkrit Tiravanija.
Thank you. It's funny to see that you are here, because I almost wasn't here. I had to get a visa to come I always have to get visas to go places, and of course, often it's annoying, you know. How many of you have to get visas to go anywhere, any place in the world? Yeah. So, you know, there's 5 hands. And those people know how annoying it is to stand in a line and wait for something you know that just takes 3 minutes to do, but it seems to be so agonizing because, you know, difficult, because somehow that's a way to keep you away, or, you know, make it difficult to get there. So it's funny to be here. Anyway, there is a video that I just sent in, hoping that I would avoid coming onto stage, but Hans-Ulrich managed to get me here. And it's a video of a trip that I took through Japan. And Japan is a very difficult place to travel. There are a lot of roads, but they're all in Japanese. So if you don't read Japanese, you don't really know where you're going. So to avoid that kind of problem, I had a kind of young Japanese artist who guided me around. And I like to drive. So when I drive, you know, I just like to keep moving. I like to turn left and right whenever I want to. And, you know, I'm looking at the view and I don't really think about where I'm going. But because my partner was Japanese, he was having a really difficult time. So he found ways to kick me off from the driver's seat and took the steering wheel himself. And that way we got around and managed to get to the place we were supposed to go to. It took us about a week to get from a small island in the south of Japan to the port city of Yokohama. We were fishing on the way. I didn't want to just drive, so in between the driving, I asked him to take me to the best place to go fishing. And so we drove to the different seas, the Sea of Japan. I'm not really sure, there are all so many seas in Japan. And then we went to like 3 big rivers. Kota, who was driving me around, was also a fisherman, so he knew where we should go, and he knew exactly the spot, you know, that there were fish in the water. Though we didn't catch many fish on the trip. See, I think we're sitting there trying to figure out if we should turn left or go right. Or maybe actually it looks like a dead end. We met some fishermen on the trip who actually really caught fish. And that's how we got fish and returned to Yokohama with a frozen package of fish, which we grilled as we arrived into the exhibition. We would grill the fish and feed the other artists who were, you know, spending a lot of time in this great big hall trying to install their work. So whenever I go and, you know, into this kind of situation where I know that you have to spend a lot of time standing around waiting for light bulbs to be plugged in so you could light your work. I try to go on road trips. I try to find a way to like avoid, being inside the space. So this is one of the trips that I managed to get together to avoid being in the exhibition space and to do the work outside. So as you can see, it's a little road which actually is not on the map. And we just drove because it looked nice. And at the end of it, I think there was a valley, a gorge with a small stream. And we camped out, and Kota dove into the water and said there was fish somehow in the bottom of the stream. That's the fisherman that we went to visit, who makes a living from a particular kind of fish in Japan. There's a fish called the ayu, and it's a kind of fish that you can't hook with a bait. They're vegetarian, so the only way to catch them is to use a net, and you have to put the nets out into the river in the middle of the night, and then you kind of corral them together by driving a boat around and making a lot of noise to frighten the fish into the nets. And here I think he's just showing us some crabs. Yeah, that's the ayu. Any questions? Good. I'm a bit dyslexic, I think, when it comes to driving, because whenever my wife tells me to turn left, I always turn right. And I'm not really sure why. Last night I was having dinner in a restaurant somewhere out there, and somebody said, "Oh, it's not really that far away from the hotel, you can walk." So I said, "Okay, I'll walk," and they kind of pointed a direction, and I started to walk, and of course I don't really know where I'm going, and I didn't really have a map, so I started to walk the direction I thought I should be going, and ended up somewhere completely, well, at least I thought it was completely the opposite end of town, and started to walk back and found out that I was actually 1 block away from the hotel I was supposed to go. So instead of getting home in 5 minutes, I ended up taking like an hour and a half to get home. I like the idea of mental maps, when people tell you, like the lady at the desk tells me, "Okay, take that elevator up 5 floors, you turn left and turn left and turn left and turn left and turn right, and then you see a door, don't take that door. Then you go right." So you get this kind of image and you try to follow it, but it doesn't really work. I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian, I've often thought like somebody should write me all this stuff so I could say things and people would be laughing and, talking about art in a funny way, and everybody would be thoroughly enjoying themselves. But unfortunately, I don't have that writer yet. So, okay, thank you.